Okay, so another day of dev videos here. It's Memorial Weekend, so I'm only going to be doing one of these videos today and tomorrow, so don't expect a lot here, as I am expected to go participate with family members and do things. So, yesterday I did record another video, but let me rephrase this. I thought I was recording it. I failed to hit the record button, so there was an hour of me just talking to my computer without doing anything. So we missed out on a bit of a few different things. So I'm going to go ahead and launch and show what we have got so far. All icons are handled for the corner icons. We haven't finished the explosive icons or translations yet. I didn't quite get to that. I spent a little too much time kind of ranting on about various things. But hopefully today we get a little bit more, and hopefully we can get to working on the packet system, as I said I was going to do that yesterday, and I didn't get to it. And that's actually still a pretty big feature that needs to be fixed because it's preventing the server-side usage of ICBM. So we're going to try to hit that up today. But we only got an hour to work in, so we'll see how things go. Running all the tests there. Speaking of which, our build servers are back online for those who saw the tweet that our build servers were down. I was correct when assuming what had happened to them. Somebody had exploited a vulnerability in Bamboo and had gotten into our servers and had shut down all of our build jobs. And they had inserted a Bitcoin miner that was maxing out the CPU, and it was taking advantage of various things to function. It basically crippled our server, killed our SQL server, and various other things in the process. It has been fixed. The exploit has been taken care of, not by Bamboo. They're still probably got a patch out there. More than likely, we have to update our Bamboo tree in order to get that patch, but what we've done is we've securely locked down the server itself, and we've done this to our site and backup server as well, so we should not see something like this happen again. It now requires SSH keys to get into any of our boxes, so that means more than likely nobody's going to be getting into them because SSH keys are a little difficult to toy with, and that means it's not worth the hackers' time to get into our boxes. After all, the only thing we put in our boxes are build files, and we don't even store the actual downloaded build files on there. They're stored on Curse, so you can't corrupt or manipulate our files. So they're up on Curse and stuff, so they're protected. So don't worry about there being viruses in there. I mean, if you feel like it's not safe, go ahead and virus scan it, and then if you still don't feel safe after that, well, just don't download the mod. I can't tell you guys to do something you don't want to do. Anyways, it's all fixed. Our build servers are back up. Dmon is going through all the build scripts right now, updating them, so it looked like on top of having this issue, a lot of the single block mods build scripts were outdated pretty badly. So when we went through to go test all the build jobs, half of them didn't work, and it was not because of anything that went wrong. It's just we had not run those builds in 6 months, and a lot of the technology that we have implemented for the newer mods was not implemented for them. So that's been fixed. We are also getting some backup. So we have a secondary build server which we use for paying clients and stuff. So for people who pay us to make mods, we put them on a separate server because we have to pay for licenses for those servers if we're making money. We have put VoltsEngine and CodingLib on there, and we will be getting those ready and set up. So that way, if this ever does happen, so anything ever happens like this again, we can at least run a VoltsEngine build and a CodingLib build to get patches out, because those two are like the major core parts of our builds. Everything else can be run locally. Those two cannot be run locally. Or actually, rather, if it's VoltsEngine can't be run locally, and VoltsEngine will not run without CodingLib being on the remote server. So those are being taken care of. We might throw a couple more builds on a backup build server. I am considering putting a local build server in my house again, and this is to handle issues just like this. I made the mistake of not putting anything to drink next to my desk when I started this recording. Anyways, so we're back to our little test range here. As you can tell, we still got those nice little gas tags running, and if we can fire them, they do actually spawn gas. These work on all spawn eggs, so if a mod registers a spawn egg, it will actually show up in here. So you don't have to add special support or handling to it. It does not work on modded item eggs. It only works on the vanilla spawn egg. Might I note that. So don't go like, oh, well, there's this mod that has this egg and it's not working. Well, it's because that mod has its own item and its own handler for that, which means we would have to add custom support for that. Flashbang has got its own little icon now. It's not exactly the best icon. I kind of made it in a couple minutes. So fire that off. Yeah, the flashbang does need some more work. As you can tell, it's not quite functioning properly. We have radiation icon, so we can actually fire radiation and radiate myself here. Oh, well, we have our first bug for the day. Didn't take long, actually. Okay, This is a ray trace failure. That's my bad for not fixing that. So that's fixed there. And let me check this real quick. Actually, I want to check the API on this, but it won't take me to the API. Oh well, we'll go here and then we'll go there and... Okay, yeah, -1, no thread. Okay, cool. So that's why I want to make sure that was running on there, because I want to make sure that didn't just try to run inside of a thread, and that explains why it failed. This should work though. We're going to need some modifications on a few different things here. After all, we still haven't implemented radiation effects, but that's going to come later. Let's go ahead and queue stuff up again here. What we are going to be working on is going to be the packet system directly. I'm going to just do icons myself because that's just me sitting there in Paint texturing things. So let's go ahead and find ICBM here, close the client package here. What we want is content. We want to work on the launcher controllers. I actually might move the controllers to a separate package because I keep getting confused of where they're at. And eventually the controllers are going to be used for a lot more than just missiles. They may be used to work with your AMS systems and FOF systems here later. They'll give you a lot more data to play with. It more likely means I'm going to put a prefab in inside of VoltSengine to actually handle that. So you may see a few mods that have different consoles like that. Okay, so we got the direct console. This is the first one we're going to test, because if this one doesn't work, then... hold on, let me actually check this one real quick. Okay, this is actually the wrong one. I am going to test that one, though. What we want to test is the local one. So we did do a rewrite on this here rather recently. This could explain why there's quite a few features not functioning properly. A few people also noted they want to get some redstone support on here, so we're going to see if we can throw some redstone in here. I do need to make some proper handlers for redstone. We don't really have them, and therefore it's a little not quite working. But the ideal would be is you could hit the controller with redstone, it would fire all missiles off in the chain of the system, which would be a bit bad, so we're going to have to play with that. Most likely what we'll do is we'll put some kind of enable redstone feature in the controller, and you'll have to turn the redstone enable on, but then you can fire all your missile packs at the same time. Or you can fire one missile pack, because these actually do act as pretty nice remote systems. And apparently I need to log into something real quick while we're doing this. Ignore everything you guys see there. Yeah, one of my classes got a ticket system going on here, and it's surprisingly this is better than GitHub's, but it's still absolutely annoying. I got a ticket created just because, hey, install Android. I'm just gonna do this, marked as resolved. Okay. Because I've already installed it, and I've already had it installed before the class even started, though I went and reinstalled it here just to make sure I had the latest version. But yeah, I also got to write a team report for that class too, which is going to be a pain in the butt, because I don't normally write those. I've been tempted to get everybody who works on my coding team for VoltSengine and stuff to actually start doing that kind of stuff. I didn't get hit by radiation. What happened there? Okay, what is our size here? Oh, our size is 1 meter. That's why it's not functional right. So let's go ahead and update our item. Because it doesn't really matter for the nuke. So the nuke's radius is going to stay the same because we're manually setting its radius. But when it comes to the items, which are a separate thing. Also, let me go ahead. I need to open up... this is the other thing we're going to work on. We're going to work on the display here and the controller. Making sure both those work. Now, I know they both work in single player because we have tossed them out here in previous tests. But let's go ahead and fix this item first. So item explosive. This actually, a lot of this needs to be handled by JSON here eventually, and that's one of the bigger steps that's preventing me from updating, is we have these huge enums of data, and we have this huge junk set of different items and stuff. And the plan is to get each of these split off into its own item. So fragments will be its own item, biomes will be its own item, entity spawn will be its own item. That way I can one-to-one these with the spawn eggs, so that way they're easier to work with, for one. And then two, I don't really have to work very hard to toy around with them. So if I want to add more to this, I don't have to do a huge amount of MBT data or other things. Anyways, up the flash to 10. Nuke stays at 1. Yeah, nuke stays at 1 because I think we're manually setting the nuke scale. Radiation is 10, flash is 10. We may bring the nuke back down to 1 here later and then set the item out to 10 because, to be honest, I want the multipliers in a lot of these to be equivalent to 1 meters. The only one that aren't equivalent are things like cake missile, where your radius is not based on the scale. The scale is the number of cakes that are placed. There are a few other ones that are like this too, like Ender blocks is not based on the radius, it's based on the number of blocks to teleport. Rusty surprisingly are. Fragments is the number of fragments that produce, so that's the reason why that's got a 5, and I think the scale's got a 5 as well. This won't fix radiation, by the way, until we restart, because this stuff is manually set in stone. It actually gets cached down here, size per unit, and then a few other things. It also does some mathematical calculations to get the radius out of the size. So when you increase in size, so say I've got 2 atoms that are worth 5 meters, and you add them together, you don't get 10 meters out of them, you get like 7 actually, because it's a volumetric scale increase. It's not that. And plus there's more math I need to add. But that's working. Or theoretically it's working, we need to test it properly. Everything else has icons. We got the Midas has got icons now, which is, I need to do translation for that one. I'll get all the translation icons myself. I'm going to go through these biome ones and probably here and redo them all here as well. I want to get some corner icons. The corner icons are going to work the same way as the egg icons. There's going to be like a 2 or 3 part colorization, so you'll have like sand. It also just be, some of these will be simplified too. So you have some of these will just show up as sand. Then you might have sand with a little crustation on the top to show it that it's like an oil well or something. Because I mean, there's like, I think 100 and something biomes to deal with, and we've got to get them all shown up. When it comes to the items, some of the biomes do actually have texturation, although they're not showing up properly. They do exist. And then, of course, I've got to do all the explosive items here for all the egg stuff. The egg ones are going to be identical to the corner icons, so we go back to the corner icons here. You notice that they got a little gray background around here. That's literally going to be the same exact icon we're going to use. And eventually what's going to happen is there's only going to be 1 icon for both of these, but right now there's going to be 2 separate icons. There's going to be a corner icon, and there's going to be an explosive item icon. But down the road, you're just going to see the explosive down here in the corner. So whatever the explosive item is going to show down here. That's going to be to improve handling, because even though I see a TNT down here, the radius changes per explosive item. So you'll have the creeper one and stuff. Well, actually, they have their own icons right now. But say you had like 15 varieties of TNT. You want to see the exact TNT item you're using and not what radius you're going to be implementing. Anyways, let's go ahead and test the local controller, and we're just going to do a small, actually that's a missile mag. We're going to do a small silo for this. So we're going to test a single player, and then we're going to bump over to multiplayer here in a second. And when we do the multiplayer test, I'm going to have to make a new launch environment for it. So it will take me a second when we go to do it. Okay, and then of course that button hasn't been implemented yet. So we're going to have to manually link it. Okay, link is created. I can set the silo. So that's good. So single player works perfectly fine, which we already knew that to be the case. I need a missile. I'm like, my brain's a little sluggish still today. So put a missile in there, and then we want to get a radar gun. We'll target that cacti. Let's put the data in there, and then fire. Looks good. So single player, everything's fine. Then we need to check redstone support on these, because the redstone support should work. Let me go ahead and... I think I need to use a repeater. I don't think direct redstone into it will actually work. It's probably why a lot of people haven't figured it out yet. Is because it's still using some old legacy code. Now, if I put a missile in here, it should auto-fire within 10 ticks. Now, there's a tick delay on firing with missiles to give it enough time to reload. Yep, there goes the fire. So redstone support works. So whoever's telling me redstone support didn't work is apparently not trying hard enough. Now, if we set up some automation for this area over here, it's just going to get wrecked here in a second. Now, if once again the accuracy is really bad on here, so we're going to watch these land, and they're going to land all over the place, and they're never going to hit that cacti in the middle. This is intentional, as each one of these doesn't have a guidance system. So the reality of these would be dumbfire ones that are being fired at the moment, so they would never hit the target period. They would just go up and they would fall somewhere. Okay, so that looks good. We got some fragments flying everywhere. Purple streams. Might I know the purple streams are from void engines for those who have never been following along with any of these dev videos. Those are not the normal engines. Those are just creative mode. If you want different engine colors and stuff, there is different engines to play with. And we actually are going to add dyes to the engines too, so you can actually change the colors manually. So you'll be able to put fuel into these that are dyed or changed color, and you'll be able to play with them. But the anti-gravity ones are the ones that have the purple, and they have max range and max speed. Oh, actually, they don't have max speed. Max speed is like 20, I think. And that's a quick booster. Will get you really high speed, but it has, as you can tell, the range is really low on here because it just burns through its fuel really quickly. There is going to be an aluminum powder version of this one, which will be mixing aluminum powder with gunpowder. When you mix aluminum with explosives, you increase the burn time on them, so you get like 30% increased speed, and you get 30% increased range on it. Several of the government's missiles do use that. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and close this down, and we're going to make 2 new run. Actually, we're going to modify one of ours. So I already have an ICBM only run config. Actually, we need to do. I was in the right spot. Also, need to rename this. This is going to be Z ICBM. Hit apply, and I'm gonna throw the armory mod out of here, and we'll Juju's mod. We're gonna leave classic in there because I want to test classic here another time. I forgot there's a really weird flaw with IntelliJ that they've yet to fix. If you edit the name of a project, you cannot edit the settings of the project shortly after. We'll go ahead and we'll do that. So that gets classic in there, and we're not going to test classic because I know it has a couple server-side flaws in it, and I haven't got around to fixing, but we're just going to test ICBM. Then we want to come over here, and we want to hit edit run configurations. Now, we already have an ICBM only, but we're going to have to update the modular path on it because IntelliJ is not smart enough to realize all I did was rename a modular. So we're going to do that, and of course we already have a server for this. This is going to save me a bit of time. So I don't have to do a lot of work here. So we're going to hit run, and what we want to do is hit debug server only, and then we're going to want to debug ICBM only client. And we'll launch both of these, and then we're going to test server side and see if we can fix the packet handling. There are a few other issues that do need to be fixed as well. What I think is actually wrong is it may not be server-side at all. It may be entirely a client-side bug because people are saying like they can't interact with the GUIs, which tells me that maybe the GUI locally is not receiving data properly. This has been an issue that's happened a couple times before because when you're sitting client-side, you do not have the same data the server has. In order to get the data the server has to send you the data. Now, by default, Minecraft is going to send you the world, so that way you can interact with the world itself. But if I fail to give you, say, this display has 5 launchers attached to it, then it's not going to let you fire anything. Now, what I really think is actually going on is that part of the display code actually checks to see if the launcher is valid, and it may be having difficulty accessing the launcher and detecting the missile in there. This may actually be one of the bugs that's already been reported. If we actually pop over to the tracker here, and we pop over here, this is actually not one of the bugs I'm looking at, but there was a bug reported by myself, of course, and yeah, here we go. This is the issue I think people are actually having, is there's a packet sync issue, what I noted, and it's not functioning properly. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that. And did the server actually launch? So we got the client here. Okay, the server did launch, I just didn't get a pop-up window for it. At least I think it launched. It looks like it's running. Calling tweak class core plugin. It acted like it croaked somewhere here in the middle. We'll give it a second and see what's gonna happen. And make sure that this is actually set to localhost. Actually, we'll change this to 127.0.0.1. Let me make sure that actually is localhost. Yep, that is localhost. So localhost is that number. Might I note that is your internal gateway for your computer. That is not like some graphic. There's not some kind of external card or anything. I'm going to say this croaked and it froze. and so we're going to relaunch it. So we're going to hit debug, and we're going to hit server again. Yes, reload changes. Apparently I made a change somewhere here, and I don't remember doing that. Let's take a look at why we're waiting for this. So we're going to do local control, take a look at what it's doing. So we got our cleanup checks, we got our update checks. Fire launcher check, which looks fine. Fire all launchers, open GUI, which we know does work because I can click the buttons. Unlink, link, we know those two work. Those are not even, you wouldn't have a problem with client or server versus these. These are entirely server-side only. We know the packet reading probably works. I'm going to say this is more than likely an actual issue with the GUI itself. So we're going to go to the launcher here. Controller, and we want the local one. The direct one I actually need to probably spend some time on. That's the one that's actually meant to control your redstone behavior and is meant to be able to do like cool things like set your delay on how quickly missiles launch and various other things. Why isn't the server launching? It keeps stalling up on calling the tweaker class in FML, which is a bit strange. Let me check to make sure I have enough RAM to even launch it. Yeah, we're doing okay on RAM. It's right there, because we can see it running at 262 megabytes. Because that's the Minecraft client. And that's the, oh, dude, it's trying to... That's the reason it wouldn't pop up. Is it's trying to select a config directory. I'm gonna yell at. I would yell at Code Chicken, but he quit anyways. But that's his problem. He's asking a server to give him a directory that doesn't exist, and this should already be set anyways. Why is it this actually? Actually, hold on. Cancel. Oh, you're not gonna let me cancel. Come on, cancel. Cancel. Run. Edit configuration. SMB server. Your working directory is wrong. That's the reason why it's failing. Hit apply, hit OK, run, and then debug server. This should work now. It's always a good idea to check like in here if you're having problems, because that was a GUI that was supposed to pop up, but what he's doing is he's launching a GUI on a server instance, and you're not supposed to do that because the servers are meant to be headless. So you're always meant to ask in console for anything server side. VoltEngine does this, and here we go. We actually got our launch window. Now, to be honest, if you know you're going to be in a non-headless environment, you could launch a GUI. So that's probably what he's actually checking. But you're supposed to access the console. And look, Steam is being weird in the bottom corner. I wonder if Steam is going to show me what game I'm playing. Yeah, here we go. What game do you think I'm playing? Although you probably just crashed me. Tip: don't use Steam overlay with Minecraft. Take a screenshot of that. I always like breaking things sometimes like this. But I was actually going to check to see what, because I launch all the stuff through Steam now. I was going to see what actually shows me playing right now. Okay, VoltEngine project, okay. And we did crash. Let's see why we crashed. Java hotspot was removed, and okay, we just critically failed. That's the only thing that happened. What's this tweet here? Oh, that's nothing important. Okay, we're gonna have to launch it again because I think the Steam overlay killed it. Okay, it's gonna launch again. probably should have run this in headless mode so we don't get this extra console window. Because I already have a console down here. And I think you can type in this. A little bit more forgiving than this thing. This thing is like garbage in my opinion. It's really cool though because you can see players active and you can see memory usage over here, but then this actual window here is not user friendly. It's not color coded, so you can't see when things are info or errors. And then when you type in here, it doesn't really work well. They don't trim the text or anything. I think maybe the newer versions they've actually fixed a few of these issues, but these are real easy. What? The state engine is in the incorrect post engine force server to stop errors may have been discarded. You're very useful. Oh, you need to agree to the either way. That's what's wrong. I hate that. Why doesn't it come up with a window going, do you agree to the URL and then type in yes? I might make a mod for that. I'd probably get yelled at for it, but I want to make a mod for that. So we want to go runs, ICBM, and then we got to do the either way. So it wasn't the Steam overlay that killed it, so ignore that part. It was just stupidity of me not reading the console. I mean, if they still have that either way thing in the newer versions, I'm going to pull request for it to have this nice big block of text going sign the either way. And then I'm going to see if I can even pull request in a prompt that will pop up going, do you agree to the URL, and type in yes. Or even better, have a run setting you can put in there that goes either way equals true, so you agree to the either way, so it automatically signs it for you, so that way when you're launching new servers you don't have to do that. I believe Ackless would love that, because one of the #1 complaints I keep getting from people who subscribe to servers is that they have to sign the either way through the terminal, and there's no easy way to do it. And if you could figure out an easy way to do that, you would make users happy, because that's one of the dumbest things in the world. I think a lot of server companies will like it. CreeperHost would probably love it too. Outside those two companies, I do not know any server providers off the top of my head. Fragnet, I used to have a ton of servers through them. They were pretty good. Their customer service was pretty good. Not as good as Ackless. Ackless's customer service is amazing. Their quick respawn time. You can go to Discord or even poke them over Twitter. And then they're still one of the few server companies I've had a server with that the servers run amazingly. I used to say that about a couple French companies, and then the French company's customer service was horrible. And then after a month of running their server all suddenly degraded. And I figured out they were pump faking, so they were giving you high quality to start with, and they were then switched to low quality. Ackless doesn't do that. They've got amazing servers right up front. I'm using one of their older boxes too, and it still runs amazingly. They've got some really brand new spanking boxes that are just absolutely golden. They're running some of the newest, highest speed processors. And what's even better about them, they don't sell you games, they don't sell you slots, they sell you based on RAM plans, so you can get as much RAM as you want for your game, and you can split that RAM between multiple games, and you can have multiple instances running. So say you want to have 10 different servers, but you only want to have 2 of them running at a time. You can do that. You can pre-configure all 10 servers, and then you can launch 2 at a time, and then you can switch, and you don't have to reconfigure everything. It's just absolutely amazing. And I just realized I'm going to have to, on this video, say I've got a sponsored ad in the middle of it after doing that. I got to edit the server again. Server properties. Permission level. Force game mode. Spawn NPCs. PvP true. Difficulty. Game mode. Set game mode to 1 by default. That way I don't have to creative mode myself. My brain is probably just missing something here. Don't need a whitelist. Online mode, here we go. That's what I'm trying to find. Because I'm not logging in with my actual account, I'm just using the name Dark because I don't want to put my actual login information in there. Every time I put my login information in there and I'm running a dev video, somebody attempts to steal my account without fail. I've now had it like 3 times now go talk to Mojang to get my account back. Twice they renamed my account. Close that window. But yeah, Ackless has got some amazing service. I'm not just saying that because they sponsored me. They actually do have really good service. Like one of the first things we did when they sponsored us is we went in and we set off like 100k TNT. You know that classic test you always run to see if a server's going to lag. It barely lagged. Then we went in and we ran some of the big ICBM explosives. Didn't really affect it whatsoever. We then ran our threaded versions of our explosives on there. Didn't seem to hinder it at all. Um, Although, to be nice to Atlas, try to set your thread count low. Last thing you want to do is, because I think they still use virtualization like many companies do. So even though they give you access to all the CPUs, you don't want to abuse that right, because then they'll take that right away from everybody if they haven't already. I need to probably go talk to my buddy who works there and actually get a rundown on how all their servers work. That way I can give you guys better information every time I talk about them. Speaking of which, they're coming out with more games here pretty soon. So they've already announced 3 new games. So they're going to be supporting Pocket Edition, 7 Days to Die, and Ark Survival Servers. And I've been told that list will increase over time. They haven't given any confirmation on what games they're going to support, and they told me not to say anything about that either, even if they did tell me. They told me no on basically that, though. But once they get that set up completely, we are going to be doing a 7 Days to Die server through them. And once we do that, we're probably going to start making mods for 7 Days to Die. It will be a PvE server, so I will be turning PvP off. I apologize for doing that, but a couple of my buddies do not like the PvP, so we're not going to force them to PvP. But anyways, we're 30 minutes in here, so let's go ahead and get back to testing. My brother's sitting next to me, by the way, when I'm doing this. He's providing non-verbal commentary. Okay. So we're going to need controller, data chip, silo. I need to fix the tooltip. The weird thing is when I'm full screen, the tooltip is not a problem, so I didn't notice it for a while, but it's supposed to be multi-line. You see where those commas are in there? Those commas are supposed to force split the line, but for some reason the code isn't functioning properly. So what I might end up doing is I might just go with a really backwards way of handling it. And by the way, you can link in both directions on these. So it doesn't matter. And yeah, here's where they're talking about where you can't click either one of these buttons. So it can identify that there is a silo there, so that is probably more than likely a GUI problem. What we're going to do, I'm going to shove a missile in it real quick and see if putting a missile in it makes any difference. It does not make a difference. So this means there is a problem with the GUI. So let's go ahead and open the GUI. I did completely rewrite this GUI a couple months ago in order to match identically with the display. So there is a missile display, which is the other tile here, and if we go ahead and grab it, so it's this block here. These two displays now function almost identically when it comes to displaying missiles. Right now, this one is not perfectly identical because this one you have to synchronize with a command block, and of course there's no command block connected with this. This one acts as its own command block, so it's a command block and a launcher in one thing. The only difference between these two is this one can only have like 5 silos connected to it. This one can have like almost 1,000 connected to it. So there's an upgrade difference there. Okay, so when it's updating, it goes through initialize the GUI, it creates all this. I'm not seeing an update loop anywhere in here. So the buttons are being disabled. And it's setting its online status, and it should just update this continuously and reset the online status, but it's not doing that. We have a button list up here. We do not have a button list up here. So there's our X button, there's our fire button. Set enabled. I'm just going to remove this line real quick, and what we'll do is we'll just kind of put this, I guess, comment it out right here. That should fix the problem. So that means I can fire it. I can't open it though. So there should be another button that lets me open that. Yeah, it's right here. So if we get rid of that part. So what's happening is the client can't identify that the object is there. So what's going is getting connection status get equals no connection. So when it goes to connection statuses, which are stored right here, we must not be getting a packet feed off that. So we're just going to do a to-do fix packet or connection status. Actually, I think connection status we're just going to change this to fix connection status. Because connection status is built right here. And what we do is we grab the data, so we grab all of our launchers. And then we go, okay, is data not equal to null? Most likely the data is initialized as null, which is probably what's happening. And we get stylus status. That could also be a problem right there, is that it can't find the silo locally. Could be a conversion math error or something. But the easiest way to fix this, and there we go, so we can access that now, and we can fire it, and we just are going to shoot ourselves with this, by the way. It's going to come right down on top of us, I think. Actually, you know what? What was the coordinate set to? Yep, it's going to shoot us. Hello, missile. Luckily, these don't explode. Okay, so this is working. So that means we can fire it. So I'm going to call that issue solved. I'm going to go ahead and close this video out, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.